Welcome to the Padre podcast. This is the place where I share what's in my heart and my mind. And because I am a forever student and I would love to graduate in heaven, and I hope you do too. This is episode number 7. Yes, we've been doing this for a while. And today I bring to you the famous Silver Scrolls, or the also known as the Ketef Hinnom Silver Scrolls. You probably have never heard about them before, but no worries, you're gonna learn everything about them today. So get ready for a treat. Have you ever been part of a field trip with youth? I've been, obviously, through youth ministry. I have done several field trips with youth. Remember when we did a trip through the United States all the way to the Grand Canyon and back? That was a great trip. Also the March for Life and going to DC and coming back. Also Washington DC trips through school. Those are so much fun. And so you have been a volunteer or a chaperone for a youth trip with teenagers. May I ask you, what do you do when kids are all riled up? When they are tired, when they are cranky, when they get emotional, and when they are bored? Well, something like this happened back in 1979 when there were some excavations going on around Jerusalem by Professor Gabriel Barkay in the Hinnom Valley, which is the valley of the Gehenna in Jerusalem. And Professor Gabriel was doing an important excavation outside of the city. So obviously, like any archaeologist, he wanted to do the dig of his life. And he was coming across plenty of looted tombs. And so the problem with his excavation is that he had a very low budget. And so in order to do the excavation, he hired a bunch of teenagers. This is something that many youth in Israel do. So just like, for example, here in the US, youth go to summer camps. In Israel, many youth go to archaeological digs, archaeological excavations during the summertime. They do it on volunteer basis, and they help archaeologists to do this type of thing. Actually, this is not exclusive to youth. This can be done by anybody. People sign up from all over the world to come to Israel to help archaeologists for a certain number of days or weeks to helping archaeological digs. Actually, locally here in the Diocese of Saginaw, we have Father Steve Gavitt, who has done a couple of archaeological excavations in the Holy Land. So he's truly an archaeologist, and he knows all the fun stuff that implies, because many times we have this romanticized idea of archaeology, like all these ideas that we have of it, but in reality it's being on your knees a lot, breathing dirt every single day, and having back pain, and being on your knees, and being with a toothbrush trying to pull some dirt from ancient things, and you may not find anything important on that particular day, and you're sifting and collecting things. So it's a lot of work. It really is a lot of work, and maybe one day you will find something that is super important, and some other days you may not find things that are that important. Well, anyways, going back to the story of Professor Gabriel Barkay, in his group he had one bored teenager who happened to have a hammer in his hand as he was digging these ancient tombs, Jewish tombs, that had already been looted. And since this kid was bored, he started playing with that hammer, and that hammer actually broke a piece of the dirt or the ground, and it opened a portion of the ground to give way to another chamber that was underground that nobody knew that was actually there. And this kid actually gave way to an amazing discovery, because down there they discovered an unlooted tomb dating back to the 700s before Christ that had dozens of skeletons. So this was a common grave. And among 1,000 items that were buried among all these people, this was a common grave of many people, and among those many objects they found 2 silver scrolls. And I have here like a little demonstration. I made a couple of scrolls made of aluminum foil so that you get an idea of what they would have looked like. There is one and there is 2 of them. So these are like a simulation of the silver scrolls but made on aluminum foil. I will explain that in a little bit. We have to remember that when people would be buried, they were buried with a lot of things, and this was traditional in many societies. I am from Peru. In Peru, that's very common too, that when you find a tomb, you will find food and jewelry and a lot of belongings of the person that the person would need in the afterlife. And so in this particular case, in this common grave, many items were buried with these people. So had this teenager not been bored and had this teenager not had an actual hammer and been playing with it, probably that tomb would still be underground. But it happened to be a teenager, and it happened to be an incredible discovery. So, Professor Barkai decided to send these 2 little scrolls to a couple of museums so that they could unscroll them, because they were made of silver and they had something in them. So because if they were scrolls, that meant that most likely they had something written in them. But actually, 2 museums rejected the possibility of unscrolling the scrolls. One in the UK and one in Germany, because they were afraid of touching them. Archaeology is by nature a destructive science, because when you begin to touch things that have been in this particular position for hundreds, if not thousands of years, and as soon as you begin to unscroll them, they may disintegrate. Just think about, like, in the pandemic, when you went to your basement and you started cleaning things and you found those old albums of pictures, and you found them and you saw that the pages of the pictures were all stuck together, and you started to peel those pictures or those pages one by one, and you were afraid that as you were peeling them out, they were going to destroy the picture because they were so stuck together for decades. Remember that? All right. Now imagine that for hundreds, and if not for 1,000 years. So that's exactly what archaeology has to face, is that when these objects have been in a certain position for so long, it is very difficult to change the position of those objects. And that's the reason why a couple of museums rejected the possibility of unscrolling the silver scrolls. Except for the Israel Museum, that accepted the challenge of unscrolling the silver scrolls. And so that's exactly what they did. So we are going to unscroll the scrolls here. Obviously, this is aluminum foil, so this is just so that you have an idea. Obviously, they would have done it with special devices, and so they will have to do it in such a way so as to unscroll the scroll. So there you have the largest form of the scroll, which will be the equivalent to amulet 2, which is the long one. And then here I have the equivalent to amulet 1, which is the tiny one. I made them a little bit bigger than the real ones. So there you have the little one. So I'm going to put them side by side, the big one and the small one, compared to the copy that I have right here in my framed copy that is part of my Bible museum. Now, when both of them were unscrolled, then they discovered that there were some writing in both of them. Okay, we're going to talk about that. So, this is what they discovered. In amulet number 1, which is the small one, they discovered the following text in Paleo Hebrew. The great God, who keeps the covenant and mercy toward those who love him and those who keep his commandments, the eternal, blessing more than any, for redemption is in him, for Yahweh is our restorer and rock. May Yahweh bless you and keep you. May Yahweh make his face shine. And then it continues. So, and this is the equivalent passage of Deuteronomy 7:9, and I have Deuteronomy 7:9 right here with me in my Bible. Know then that the Lord your God is God, the faithful God, who keeps covenant mercy to the 1,000th generation toward those who love him and keep his commandments. And then there is also an equivalent to Numbers 6:24-25, which also appears in amulet number 2, which is the bigger one. And so I am going to pass to that page. And this is amulet number 2, which is the bigger one right here. May he, she, so the person, may the person be blessed by Yahweh, God, the warrior helper and rebuker of evil. May Yahweh bless you and keep you. May Yahweh cause his face shine upon you and grant you peace. Which parallels the following verses from the Bible, which is Numbers 6:24-26, which also appears in amulet number 1. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and give you peace. I have actually the full text over here in my Bible, Numbers 6:24-25 and 26. So right here. The Lord said to Moses, speak to Aaron and to his sons and tell them, this is how you shall bless the Israelites. Say to them, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and give you peace. So shall they invoke my name upon the Israelites, and I will bless them. All right. You probably have heard this one before, right? And you probably have an actual copy of that blessing, the priestly blessing. Probably you have found it in Hobby Lobby or in any place where they sell these motivational phrases or religious phrases, and you probably have it framed at home and you have given it to somebody as a gift. It's a very famous text. Now, when they studied the Paleo-Hebrew of the Silver Scrolls, which, by the way, still are the originals, and I've seen them at the Israel Museum in the Holy Land in Jerusalem, and they are exactly the same size as you can see the size of these ones. They are an exact copy, like the size of my hand. I have seen them. They are tiny. The exact letter accuracy preserved and continued in the Hebrew Bible for over 2.5 millenniums to this day is truly remarkable to see when they compared the text of the Paleo-Hebrew of the scrolls and the Hebrew that we have in the current text that we use for our translations. The scrolls were dated on the script and the artifacts around them to the late 7th and 6th century before Christ. This is called the First Temple period. That means the period between the building of the Temple of Jerusalem, that will be from the time of Solomon, all the way to the time of the exile to Babylon. So if you split the difference there, we are talking about around year 625 BC. That's normally when we date these scrolls. We normally say that they are from 625 before Christ. This is what makes them so important, because they predate the Dead Sea Scrolls that are so famous. You probably have heard about the Dead Sea Scrolls and not about the Silver Scrolls. These little tiny Silver Scrolls predate the Dead Sea Scrolls for about 500 years. And to this day, the Silver Scrolls are the oldest fragments of biblical text ever to be discovered. There is no other biblical text to this day that has been discovered that is older than the Silver Scrolls. If tomorrow there is another biblical text, actual text, that is older than 625 before Christ, I'll make sure that there is a copy of that, and it will be part of my biblical museum as well. The other day I received a card from a kid, a thank you card for Catholic Schools Week, and it was beautiful. This was from Addison, and it says thank you, and then inside there is a cross and a heart, some hosts, I don't know if you see the hosts right there, and a chalice. But then on the other side, you will see there is a cross, some hands, and a mountain, and then it says, The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord turns his face toward you and give you peace. Which is the exact content of the Silver Scrolls. So there you have this super ancient text that to this day is the oldest text of the Old Testament, the entire Bible ever discovered, still making impact on our children even to this day. Another thing that I wanted to show you here is that the other day I ordered for myself a mezuzah. I don't know if you have heard about a mezuzah. This is a mezuzah. It's a little device, devotional device, that you find in every single Jewish house. Just like in a Catholic house, you will always find a crucifix. Well, in a Jewish house, you will always find a mezuzah that is attached to the doorposts of the house. Now, the interesting thing about the mezuzah is that behind this device, there is a little scroll. I don't know if you can see the scroll, and it's all wrapped in there, and the scroll is in Hebrew. I'm going to take the scroll out. This is part of Jewish devotion. So I am unscrolling the scroll over here, because this is what Jewish people do even to this day, is that they take the Hebrew scriptures, they put them in little scrolls, and as part of their tradition, they put it inside this device, and then this device, the mezuzah, they hammer it to the door. Okay? Why? Because in Deuteronomy 6:4-9, this is what the Lord says. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. And you shall write my words on the doorposts of your house. So this is part of religious tradition and religious jewelry. In this case, you adorn your house with this religious jewelry. Now, in ancient times, you could also use this not only to adorn your house, but also to adorn your body. Actually, Dr. Gabriel Barkay believed that the Silver Scrolls originally, they were probably part of an amulet or religious jewelry, so that when they were scrolled, probably they were used as part of a pendant. So maybe it had a necklace, and then you had the text of the blessing hanging on you, meaning that the blessing of God was near your heart. Or maybe it could have been part of a phylactery that was close to your mind or close to your arm, which was symbol of strength. The blessing of God is my strength. We don't really know exactly what they were, but knowing that having scrolls as religious jewelry as part of the Jewish tradition even to this day, so there is no doubt that most likely the Silver Scrolls were part of that religious tradition of the Jewish people as well. Maybe you wear religious jewelry too. Maybe you have a cross, maybe you have a religious medal, maybe you have a saint or the Blessed Mother. I wish I could wear. Unfortunately, I can't because immediately I break into a rash because I have those type of allergies. But those of you that can, next time you put on a cross or a medal or any kind of religious jewelry, please think of the Silver Scrolls, because it is because of religious jewelry that we have been able to uncover once again the most ancient biblical text that has survived to this day, the priestly blessing, and it is indeed a treasure to behold. So we learned something new today about our sacred scriptures, this most ancient text of the Holy Scriptures that has survived to this day, the Silver Scrolls, also known as the Ketef Hinnom Silver Scrolls. God bless you. Have a wonderful day, and may the Lord bless you and keep you, and may He make His face shine upon you and grant you peace. God bless you. Bye-bye.